page, and we were holding in the middle of explaining why the davening by Mincha Shabbos it says, Mika Amcha Yisrael, Ve'echad Ba'aretz, Ata Echad, Mishimcha Echad. Why does he use a term of Echad when it comes to the Eibishter and about the Yidden? And to explain that, the Frierdiker Rebbe says in a Maimer, he brings a mashal of a ben yachid, that the love of a parents to an only child is greater than the love of parents to a child amongst many children, and the same thing the other way around, that the love of an only child to the parents is much stronger, much more powerful. So we asked, why is that important to emphasize about the whole idea of the love of the parents to the child and the love of the child to the parents? Why can't he just explain that Echad is shows, like we say by Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, comes to tell you that even when there are multiple things, there's a world, there's Ches, which is Zayin Rekim Va'aretz, and there's the Dal Druchs Hashemayim. Even there, he's one. So just like in Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, we use the term Echad. The same thing over here. In speaking about the Eibishter, we also use the word Echad and Ata Echad v'Shimcha Echad. And the same thing when talking about the Yidden, we're talking about the Yidden the way they're down here in this world. Even the Yidden the way they're down here in this world, that they are amongst many nations, they are called Echad. They are something unique and higher than that. And therefore, because that's what we could have answered about the question of why it says Ata Echad v'Shimcha Echad. For that reason, the Frierdiker Rebbe brings in the Maimer the whole idea of the love of the Ben Yachid. And that's what we're holding. Again, we're holding line 21 on page Ches of the Maimer. To negate and to avoid this explanation of why it says Ata Echad and not Yachid, and why it says Mika Amcha Yisrael, Goy Echad, and it doesn't say Goy Yachid. And we would say that the reason is because he's trying to say even the Eibishter, the way he's down here in the world, and even the way they're amongst the nations, they are Echad. Maybe Maimer and Mashal Bebein Yachid. So Maimer brings the analogy and the metaphor of an only child, that by an only child, Loy Rak, Binyan Ishal Ben Yachid Hu. The idea of an only child is not just that in actuality he is only one child, but also and primarily that the only child love for his father, and the only child's love of his father to him, it's a unique love, top of page S. That's not the same to the love of a father and a son, and similar the other way around to the love of a son and a father when there's more than one child. So therefore, similar to this, that's why the Frierdiker Rebbe brings in his Maimer, when asking the question about why it says Echad and not Yachid, he brings in the question this idea of the Yidden's connection with Hashem is like the love of an only child. Line 2, the fact that the Yidden are an only child to the single one of the world, meaning Hashem. The love of Hashem for the Yidden and the love of the Yidden for Hashem. The Avam Yuchadus is a unique love. That there's nothing like it in all the nations. Since also in this world, Avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Shal Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu Avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael v'Shal Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yavim Yechedes. Since even in this world, the love of Hashem for the Yidden and the love of the Yidden for Hashem is a unique love. So therefore, seemingly, it's not appropriate to count them with the other nations. It should have said instead that it's the only nation, it's a unique and singular nation, different completely than all the other nations. That's why the Frierdiker Rebbe has to bring in his Maimer the idea of the love of an only child. Now the Rebbe is going to go into explaining what does this mean, this love of an only child is unique. Line 10, Oizdal. This will be understood more in depth by first prefacing the explanation of the fact the love of parents to their children when they have more than one child is not such a great love like when they love an only child. The love of an only child for their parents is much more powerful than the love of children to their parents when there's more than one child. So the Rebbe is going to question that whole idea. He says in line 15, the Lechura seemingly also concerning the love of parents for their children. It's not possible to say that because they have more children, so in other words, it's not an only child, they have 10 children instead of one child, through that, the love somehow decreases. Is an expression of Chazal, or actually it's an expression they bring in the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer. Are there then areas, distinct areas in the innards of a person to say, here I have this child, and here I have the love for this child, and there I have the love for that child. But when I have a love for an only child, so my entire innards is now occupied with the love. No, it's not in that type of way. So seemingly, the devotion and the love of a parent to their children doesn't make seemingly a difference between an only child and if they have multiple children. And then looking at it the other way as well, how much more so concerning the love of a child to his parents. The kivin shekol, since every child, even when he has brothers, he has siblings, he is in his own world, it's his relationship. He's a singular person in his own self-awareness. The fact that he also has brothers that love his parents, seemingly it's not a reason that through that his love should decrease. Since by his own feeling and his own awareness, he's alone, he's the only one there. So therefore, since he's the only one there in his own being, in his own self, why would we say that the Ben Yochid, the Ava, is stronger? In other words, he's asking on it logically, but he's going to say that in the end, it is that way. He's not challenging the fact that it is so. The fact is that the parents' love for an only child and the love of an only child for the parents is unique and different than when a parent has many children, and that both the love of the parent and the love of the child to the parents is different. That just he's trying to understand it logically. So the Rebbe is going to answer it by bringing the source in. In truth, in other words, logically, in this world, you're right. There shouldn't have been a difference between the love of a parent and only child and the love to a parent to each and every child when he has multiple children. But on the other hand, the reason why there is a distinction is because in Olamas Halyonim, what an only child represents is a great and powerful love, and therefore when it comes down here, when you have an only child, so then that love manifests itself in full force. Line 24. We can say the explanation in this. Why is the only child's love different than when there's many children down here in this world? Yeah, you do according to it. It's no all matters down here below. Yeshlam, Shorishlam, Milo, they have a root above. Well, according to this, we could say. What is the spiritual source for parents down here loving their children? It comes from True, it's completely natural. But anything in this natural world must have a spiritual source. So it comes from the fact that Hashem loves Yidden, that they are his children. Therefore, it manifests down here in the world that parents love their children as well. The same thing with Shodesh Avos Ben Lahod. What is the root? That why in this world do children love their parents? Is because in the spiritual realms is Avas Avin Yisrael Avin Shveshmaim. It's the love of the Yidden to our Father in heaven. Therefore, because of that is the source of the love. Now we can understand why a Ben Yochid's type of relationship with his parent is different. Since Yidden are considered an only child to the only one of the world, meaning Hashem, therefore the essential love of a father and son down here below, top of page Yud. The love of a father to his son, the love of a son to his father. It comes as a result of the essential love of the Eibishter and the Yidden, the both directions, the love of Hashem for the Yidden and the love of the Yidden for Hashem. Is primarily in an only child. Because of this reason, which shall ben lahoid of the general essential love of parents to their children and a child to their parents, will be Yisrael Yoiser Mibe Umasailam. It's by Yidden more than the nations of the world. Because the root of this love is the love of Hashem to the Yidden and the love of Yidden to Hashem. And since in the spiritual world, Yidden are an only child, therefore, in where is the more powerful love become revealed in this world? When it's an only child of Hashem. Any questions before we go on? Okay, next paragraph on page Yud, line 9. That we can explain even more so the connection of this idea of the mashal of an only child to the following examination of the exact language, the Havilela Meimar Goy Yochid, that we were saying in the question, why doesn't it say Goy Yochid instead of what it says Goy Ech Kizesh Yisrael? The fact that Yidden are considered the only child of the Yidden, it's different than an only child down here below. Even when a parent has an only child, that may be a temporary situation. It's possible that after having this only child, they can have, other children. It says the examples of Avram says that Ibishka told Avram by the Akedah, take your child as bincha yechidcha, your only child. And it's a very interesting expression. Rashi has trouble with it. He says, what do you mean yechidcha? Avram had Yishmael. Why is it called Yitzchak? So he said, because but also upon him, you can look at Yishmael was once upon a time the Yachid of the Ben Yachid of Avram, and then Yitzchak came along, and he's no more the Ben Yachid of Avram. So we see that when you're dealing with a Ben Yachid is possible to change the situation. But when it comes to Yidden and the Eibishter, Ella, line 14, by the end of the parentheses, when we talk about the Yidden being an only nation, it's not possible to say that in the future or some other occasion or under other conditions, there's going to be more children. It says, the fact that Yidden are considered the children of Hashem, Ushem Ushroshim Batzmusi is Baruch is the fact that they are rooting in Hashem's very essence. Similar to a child down here below, that is rooted in the essence of the Father. Sham, when we're talking about Hashem's essence, there is no room for any other existence. Yisrael, Malchus, Yidden, and the king are all alone. Kanal Siv Gimel. So therefore, since it's not possible even that by the Eibishter there should be another child that is something added to the Ben Yochid that the Yidden are. Therefore, line 20 goes on, since also while the Yidden are down here already in the earth, that you would have said that because they're down here in the earth. So over here, the term Goy Echad does apply. So he says, no. Avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael ki Avas HaAv Ben Yachid. The love of Hashem for the Yidden is like the love of a father to an only child, because the Yidden's connection with Hashem is like the connection of an only child, even though there are other nations. But and the same thing the other way around. Avas Yisrael, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu ki Avas Ben Yachid love, and the love of the Yidden for the Eibishter is like the love of an only child to his father. Chai days and Nikr Ben Pekilui, through that it's recognized by them in a revealed way. Shagam B'Yosim Lamat, also being down here below. But in this earth, and Shurim im Shar Sham Ba'atzmusi is Baruch. They are bound up with their source and their root of the with Hashem's very essence. The Rebbe says the way how it's recognizable, he says in footnotes 26, is you see this type of recognition of the love of the Eibishter for the Yidden in down here in this world, and the fact that the Yidden get rewarded for what they do well and good in this world. And if Chas v'Shalom they do wrong, they get punished. Whereas Goyim, the Eibishter can let them run and run and run and not punish them, and then just with one shot wipe them off the face of the earth. And the same thing the other way, how it's recognized down here, the goal in this world, the connection of the Yidden with Hashem's essence, the love of the Yidden for Hashem, is in the fact that they are ready to go on Mesiras Nefesh for Hashem. So I'll go upon him. So he's saying over there, down the way, it's down here below, is also revealed. Line 25, there is no allowance and no room for any other existence. There's not even any room for an idea of malachim or something else, because malachim don't have that root, don't have that connection with the essence. How much more so that even while being down here in this world, there's no room for the nations of the world. Therefore, so it's not possible to count them together with the nations, top of page Yud Aleph, and to say that they are one nation, Echad Hamon, a number one that's counted, because counted means that there's others as well, Echad, and then Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, as we said before. It should have said the only nation. So up till now, the Rebbe explained in detail the question of the Maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe of Ata Echad, and from Ois Heyan on, he's going to explain the answer that the Frierdiker Rebbe gives over there in that Maimer. Any question?
Okay. Yeah, can you repeat again, please? Why there cannot be a possibility of another son? I mean,
exactly, because in the physical world,
that's
another son, even after having the only son. So let's say physically, by Yishmael was the only son for 13 years until Yitzchak was born. 13 years later, Yishmael ceased being the only son, at least of Avraham. So even when you have an only son, it could stop being so. But the reason why Yidden are called an only son is because they are rooted in Hashem's very essence. Yisrael and Malchus b'chadoi. Over there in that level, there's no room for nations and there's no room for malachim and not even Torah and so on. That's only Hashem and the Yidden. So therefore, regardless of the fact that there are nations and so on, there's no allowance for, no room to leave this description of Yachid. And that's why even here in this world, where there are nations and there are seemingly other things, a Yid manifests that type of only son connection that he has with Eibishter. And it's revealed in this world, that only son connection that he has with Hashem. Both because of his love for Hashem, that he's willing to go on Mesiras Nefesh, and Hashem's love for the Yidden, that he's willing to rebuke him. Just to elaborate on what we just now said about Schar and Oynish, a parent may punish a child for doing something wrong. The kid's going to say, but the other kid down the street you didn't punish. He said, that's not my kid. I'm not dealing with him. So the schar and oynish that Hashem gives the Yidden is an indication of that relationship that Hashem has with the Yidden that's distinct and different than the nations. So even in this world, it's recognizable the Yachid status of the Yidden that excludes all the nations of the world. So if even in this world, there is the Yidden with their Yachid status, why do we say Echad? The whole reason why we say Echad is to say that even in a place where there's other things, we are still, or the Echad is something special, like even when Echad is counted and followed by Sheni and Shlishi. Echad is higher, we said in the previous year, but here it's not a matter of our being Echad, that we're counted with the nations, but we're higher than the nations. It's not even, the whole idea of the other nations don't even apply, because we have this Yachid child relationship, the only child relationship, just like an only son's relationship with the parents, which negates and excludes anything and everything else.
It seems that the Christians borrowed this idea. They always talk about the only son.
They take ideas from Yiddishkeit and they warp them. So that's not a. That's not a.
But now I know where they got it.
You know. Okay. Hey, line 3 on page Yural. So he goes on. So now he's going to get to the answer. Once we've already explained so thoroughly the question of Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer, now we're going to go to the answer. And now the reason for this, all the three aspects. Ata, we're saying, is Echad, and Shtimcha, your name, we're saying, is Echad. Ka'amcha ki Yisrael, we're all saying number Echad. It says Echad v'lo Yachid. How come? First, the Maimer prefaces it by explaining a different topic. He explains the difference between light and name. In each one of these, light and name, there's an advantage and a specialness that the other one doesn't have. The milas ha'or, being in Agilui, the advantage and the quality of light is in what it reveals. The fact in the concept of revelation. Light reveals the luminary. Because the name does not reveal that which is called by name. For example, the name of a person. The fact that I know that a person is called Chaim. You don't know anything about him. Chaim walked into the room, never met Chaim before. So when he introduced himself, he says his name is Chaim. Do I know anything about him? I don't know anything. And there could be many people that are called by the same name. So a lot of people could be called Chaim, and they are totally different one from another. Not intellectually, and on their attributes and emotional makeup, as opposed to light. They are through the light, one knows of the existence of the luminary, and we know aspects of the luminary. We know that it's brilliant, and we know it has certain type of character traits and so on. So the light reveals the luminary. That is the advantage of light over name. Malchus Hashem, and the advantage of a name is to mamshich es ha'etzem. Name draws down the essence, the classic thing. When we call a person by his name, he turns to the one that calls him with his entire being. That if you call a person by their name, they turn around to you. It's something that draws the person to you. And the expressions b'chalatz musay. There's a very famous story with the Tzemach Tzedek was once, the Alter Rebbe was playing with him as a child, and the Alter Rebbe asked him, "Vu is Zayda? Where's grandfather?" And he touched the Alter Rebbe's beard, he touched the Alter Rebbe's hands. He says, "No, this is Zayda's beard. This is Zayda's hand." And then a few minutes later, the Alter Rebbe went back to whatever he was doing, and then the Tzemach Tzedek called out and said, "Zayda, Zayda." So the Alter Rebbe turned around to him, and then Tzemach Tzedek smiled and said, "Da is Zayda. Here is Zayda," because when you call by name, you are drawing the entire person. It's not the beard, it's not the hand, it's the entire person you're drawing. So that is the advantage of name. And as we know, there's an even deeper idea of Yisayda Mizu, line 15, even more so. The Gam Kishad Mis Aleph, even when a person faints away, is unconscious, through calling him by name, he awakens from his being in a faint. Through calling him by name, you're drawing down the essence of his life force that's beyond the expansion of his life force. So the expansion of his life force left him. The expansion of his life force had, because he was in a faint, went upwards. We have to draw it down again from the essence. What is it that draws it down again from the essence? By calling him with the name. So Malchus Hashem L'gaba, that's the advantage of a name over light. You do not draw the essence down through the light. In other words, you do not draw down the luminary. And the name draws down the essence. Now, in the next paragraph, the Rebbe is going to add one more very important point. The Rebbe is going to distinguish between Ma'ir and Etz. Ma'ir is the aspect of the luminary that is the aspect of the essence that has to do already with illumination. But it's not the essence of the essence. The name has to do even higher. It has to do with even the category of luminary has to do with the essence. Let's see, line 22, page Yudal. Yes, we could say the Mashakasim by Maimer, what it says in the Maimer, I know I'm more that the light doesn't draw down the essence, which is the more. The intention by saying that doesn't draw down the more, the luminary, is in that very essence from which the light comes down from. There are two aspects and components. In Yanachad, one aspect in the etzem is hamor by the luminary. That's it. The Inyan Sheni is a second idea. There's a etzem shalamayla mimor. There is the essence that's beyond ma'or. And he brings from different Amorim where it says specifically that the Atzmus is not Ma'or. That's what he brings in the footnote. The fact that he's called a luminary is because he shines. Because light comes out of it. The very essence is removed from the whole concept of light. Gam is at top of page base, also from the idea Shuhum that's the luminary, that from the luminary, the oil comes down. So even that aspect, that type of removed connection is also missing. In other words, we're talking about the essence itself. Yes, Shlomo, the Rebbe goes on to say in line 2, the root between the difference between the root of the light and the root of the name is the root of the light is in that aspect of the essence that's connected already with the light, the luminary aspect of the essence. The root of the name is in the very essence itself, higher even than that level of the essence that has to do with light, higher even than the level of Moir of the luminary. That's why light, we said, is the idea of revelation, but name is concealment. You don't know anything about the person from the name, for example. Because what's the idea of luminary, which is the source of the oil, is that it shines. What shining means? It expands, it becomes revealed. But Vayetze, which is Shreidish Hashem, the essence, which is the root of the name, that is separated from the idea of light, which is the idea of expansion and revelation. So therefore, the name doesn't have to do with revelation. So name is concealment. Name doesn't reveal anything about the person. And now we're going to be able to say even stronger the different levels that shame is connected to, that, and then oir is connected to line 8. According to this, we can explain what it says in the mind. That the light does not draw down the essence, which is the luminary. The intention when the Frierdiker Rebbe adds in his words, this means the ma'or, it doesn't draw down. That part of the essence that has any association with the light is not the very essence itself. It's only the luminary part of the essence. And even though it's a lower level, it's the luminary part. Even this lower part, the luminary part, the light doesn't draw down. Following this, he says that the name draws down the essence of etzem stam, without saying it's talking about the luminary, just essence. That the essence that's connected with the idea of name is the very essence that's beyond the concept of revelation. The Afal Pikein, and still in all, Hashem Mamshechas Etzem, the name draws down the very essence. So it's two extremes. The light doesn't draw down the level of even the luminary part of the essence, which is the lower level. And the name, not only is it able to draw down from the essence, but it's able to draw down from the essence of the essence itself. Okay, any questions?